Elected officials, I see the Sheriff Jay Jones, I see the Coroner Bill Harris, and without my glasses, I don't see any other elected officials. We do have Hannah Lester from the Opelika Observer and Mike Eads from the Opelika Auburn News. Public comments from citizens. John Rice, you're up first. Commission's set a policy of 3 minutes.
Thank you. Today is Heritage Action in America Day for Lee County. The Fight for America Back the Blue Pledge is a nationwide effort. We had Tallapoosa County last week. We had 36 people sign up under the Back the Blue Pledge. Law enforcement as a whole, we're asking all elected officials to say that we're going to support law enforcement top to bottom. And after the meeting's over tonight, if y'all would, please entertain that idea. I have all the forms, and we'd love to have you in.
Thank you, John. Ernest Griggs.
Ernest Griggs, 388 Lee Road, 662 in the metropolis of Lochapoka, Alabama. And you can tell I black the blue because I'm wearing blue. Two things. Grateful for being here and I'm being alive on top of the ground and not under the ground. Two things, one as a citizen and one as a member of the Lee County Rec Board. As a citizen, I'm concerned about 188. I live on 662. I come out of 16 on 662, turn right, come down 188, and once again, the only term I can use is idiots, just throwing trash out there ridiculously. 1 week I saw the Lee County litter crew out there picking up all week long. The next day, somebody, and I don't think it's people in my neighborhood. I think it's because that 188 is a thoroughfare for getting to Wild Road, to go and get on 85, to go to Tuskegee, Montgomery, everywhere. People are just throwing trash out there. I know that the fine is, I think it's $500 first offense, 1,000 second, 3,000 up to 3,000, and 100 hours of doing the work, picking up the mess that they threw out there. There are no signs. There are no legal signs out there. J.D. Bass, who lives in another subdivision, made a homemade sign and put out there. It's not official, and you can tell we can tell it's not working. But and the people that live in the first house there, their husband and wife are out there constantly picking up trash. We need something. And this day and time, I would not stop anybody and ask them why did they throw that out, because these people, they talk with guns, they talk with violence, they talk with no intent to do wrong. First of all, they're doing wrong throwing the trash out. In my neighborhood, I take mine down, I pay that fee every year to take mine down to that dumpster and dump it. This as a citizen. As a member of the Lee County Rec Board, we recognize a third plot of land right on Highway 14. I can't divulge the owner of the property because this is a public meeting. Okay, 1 meeting, okay. And we'd like for y'all to come out and look at. 2 commissioners have already looked at it. The other 2 plots were $9,500 an acre. The other was $12,500. This person is willing to negotiate a very reasonable price for something, because for almost 40 years I've been down there, and my time's running out, and also the time is running out for our children of Lochapoka to have a place for recreation. My 4 boys I raised, who are now grown, I had to take them to Auburn or someplace else for recreation. They are now married and have boys, have girls. They don't have a place. If they come to my house, my 2 grandkids, 2 of my grands at my house right now, but yet they don't have a place in Lochapoka for recreation facilities. Let's please help us move some dirt.
Thank you,
Moving
Mr.
dirt
Griggs.
won't hurt. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that, please. The 2 commissioners that Mr. Griggs was talking about was myself and Commissioner Ham, and I was really favorable about the location of the potential wreck, so I'm all excited about that. Also, to address the second issue of the trash situation, we're definitely aware of that, and it's bad. And at the October 13th commissioner meeting, I'm going to have that on the agenda, because we're working up on a game plan to address that problem, because it makes no sense whatsoever that people in the neighborhood that are upright citizens have to be out there on Saturday mornings picking up people's Bud Light cans. Makes no sense.
Can we get your contact information? Sir, can we get your contact information? We're going to do something down there, and you would be a good one to help us with.
Okay, need it now?
I have it.
You got it? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next name on Citizens Communications is Bill English. It's my pleasure to announce to you that Lee County, as a defendant, settled the federal election litigation on the last day of trial. We got a very favorable settlement. It will not be an order entered by the judge, and please keep time on me, Mr. Renham. It was a settlement agreement. It will remain confidential. As part of the terms, I need to announce to you in a public meeting that there will be 3 Saturdays in October where the absentee office will be open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. October 10th, I believe it will be in Smith Station. October 17th, it will be at the Satellite in Auburn, Satellite Smith Station. And October 24th, it will be open here in the courthouse for 4 hours on a Saturday morning. In addition, instead of closing at 4:30, it will close at 6 p.m. on the Tuesdays and Thursdays in October. So we added basically 12 hours of absentee office open time on weekdays, and we have 12 hours over 3 Saturdays. That was it. That's frankly probably a good thing, probably needs to be done anyway. We have just broken the record for the most absentees in a presidential general election, and we're a month out.
Wow.
We're over 3,200 today, and the most we've ever had vote is 3,000 and about 100 in a presidential general. So we're seeing a massive influx. We've ordered 9,000. We hope that's enough. But as part of the settlement, I'm to announce in a public meeting, county commission meeting, what the terms that we've agreed to do. So there is a misconception. It is not no excuse absentee voting. An excuse checkbox is still required. However, if coronavirus is your issue, I believe it's box number 2 or box number 3, and that's all that's required. Now, the order has not come out from the judge. It's possible there will be some other changes to absentee law in the next week or 2, but for right now, that's the only change. Thank you. All right. Ms. McCall, not only do we have a quorum, we've got a full bench for the first time since either May or June. Wow. Thank y'all. You should have found in your packets the minutes of the meeting held September 14th. They're fairly lengthy because of the resolutions contained therein. In addition, there are the procurement card transactions from Blackbog. There are the invoices that are awaiting your approval for payment, and there are the invoices that have been paid that need to be ratified, paid per your policy, need to be ratified. In addition, we're announcing today, no action required, one opening on the Beulah Utilities District. Any questions about the items on the consent agenda?
I'd like to move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. We have second reading. This would call for a motion and a vote of the reappointment of Susan Anderson to the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library Board.
Move for approval.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Second reading would call for a vote of Richard Brown to the Lee County Recreation Board from District 4. Mr. Ham?
I'm going to let Richard make that motion.
Okay.
I would be proud to make that motion since Coach Dickie Brown, well, Mr. Brown, is my former football and basketball coach, so I'm really proud to make that motion.
And
Richard, I would have thought he was principal back when you went to school.
Yeah.
He wasn't principal yet.
Now, he was my coach.
Okay.
And I'll second it, Judge.
That's pretty slick. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Mr. Hardy, safe room installation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, on your commission desk this afternoon, I placed an update to the proposal submitted by Barrett Simpson to perform the verification that was discussed at the last commission meeting regarding the shelters through the grant application process our EMA is administering for the little over, I believe it's nearly 115 shelter sites. And working with Barrett Simpson, they've agreed to provide the verification services as outlined in the requirements so that the citizens will be able to receive the maximum reimbursement for the shelters that they must pay for up front. Mr. Martin, the county attorney, has reviewed this agreement as well as Mr. Rendelman and myself and Ms. Smith, our EMA director. We bring it before you tonight to consider, ask for your approval to it so that we can get the process going to get these shelters installed for our citizens. Ms. Smith has an update as well on work she's done with the state EMA and FEMA, I believe, also.
As you guys know, the last time we met, it was going to be a $46,000 cost to the county for, if you approve this tonight, for the engineering firm. After several discussions with state EMA, they have agreed to reimburse the shelter grants that are not approved yet, that are in the FEMA queue. The ones that are already approved, they cannot change the scope monetarily. But when all is said and done, after the county puts the money out and we file the reimbursement, that is going to be $26,800 that we will get back from the ones that are not approved, with the end result being the true cost of $19,200 to the county versus the $46,000. In addition, we receive a small managerial cost for each applicant's file for EMA managing these files and managing these applicants. Those costs can additionally be put into the same account, into that to reimburse the county. We don't have to keep them in the EMA coffers, whatever Mr. Rendelman decides we should do. Should we do that and put that back, that will only result in a $6,000 cost at the end to the county if we do that. Much better, even though you do have to put it up at the front, getting it back. And we do have that in writing, and I did forward that to Mr. Rendelman, so we didn't just get, yeah, we'll do that. We have it in writing.
Rita, it would have been a lot easier not to go to battle with them, but thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for doing that because you saved us possibly $27,000. It sounds like some of the stuff Mr. Rendelman does when he finds ways to help us out on bonds and different things and save the county money, and I see you doing that too, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr.
Good
Rendelman,
job.
where will the funds come from that we front or pay for?
Probate office.
It's going to come out of basically the remaining fund balance that we carry over for next year for capital assets. So basically, whatever that allocation ends up being, we'll reduce it by the amount that we will need to cover all these if they're done. And, you know, and then and when if we get the money from the state, we can reallocate that to more capital. So we'll just have to, some people will have to wait a little bit for
Nobody
some
has to
capital
wait.
purchases until we get
Good.
reimbursed.
And worst case, there's no reimbursement, and we're already ready for every cost we have to have. Is that correct? Yeah. Good job. Thank you. This would need a motion.
Move for approval.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Mr. Hardy, a big old map and a big old book.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. At the last commission meeting, the Highway Department presented to the commission our update to our highway reference guide as well as our map. Again, this document, is our maintenance system that the Lee County Highway Department has responsibility for under the county commission. And so we update it periodically with changes, whether there are annexations as cities grow, whether there are subdivisions built and new roads added. So that's kind of what we've brought before you for consideration at the last meeting. I haven't heard from any commissioners of any specific concerns or changes to that, so therefore we would ask you tonight, if you would, to formally adopt this as the Lee County maintenance system. It will get updated to our website, updated in all of our documents at the Highway Department that we operate on, for how we do what we do with it. And then again, this is a living document, and so if we see changes coming or mistakes made that we might not have caught the first round, we can certainly come back and address that as we have over the years. Mr. Hall, my predecessor, put this in place. I believe the first version was formally adopted by the commission in 2005, helping define our system. And I think it's been a very good thing for us to have. It certainly has made life at the Highway Department a little bit easier on determining roads we maintain and what we need to. There have been updates and changes needed, but it is good to have this system. I talked to other counterparts in the state who are still under the system we used to be under, where word of mouth and having to check with the oldest employee or the most tenured employee is how they found out whether this was something they could do or couldn't do. So we're very fortunate to have this system. Again, I appreciate Mr. Harville's work to get this updated for the commission.
Well, thank y'all for keeping that up, because that sure does help us when we're out looking for something or communicating with you. We've all got those maps that are very well done.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I make a motion that we adopt this highway reference guide.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Hardy, now I understand if it's in this book, we maintain it. If it's not in this book, we don't maintain it.
That is correct.
Is that also true for the large map that came with it?
Yes, sir.
So a road that the county doesn't maintain isn't on the,
It may be shown.
this map?
It may be shown, but it's not shown with the specific ticks marking the tenths of a mile, and it's not shown with the Lee County decal indicating what road it is.
All right.
Because our county has so many state routes, and of course, if we just eliminated the city routes in Auburn and Opelika, there would be a big vacant open void in the map. So for everyone to understand and kind of have their bearings, we do show those roads. But like I said, if it's got a decal on the road with a number, that means we maintain it.
And the only way this grows is if the commission adopts a road.
Yes, sir. As we accept new subdivisions that have been built that we bring forward to the commission for recommendation to add when they have finished their maintenance period, and we accept them for maintenance, that's the way it grows. It's reduced. If cities grow, they annex properties, they take roads over, similar to the deal with Smith Station recently.
Yeah.
Opelika's annexation of some property north of there that had a dirt road as a part of it that they got through that annexation. That helps reduce our system in that way.
And I want to make sure I understand, when a city annexes both sides of a road, there's no action required by the commission.
No, sir.
It's there.
That is state law. When they annex both sides of the road for the distance they are on both sides, it's the city's responsibility.
All right, sir. I have a motion and a second to adopt the Highway Reference Guide as the official document of the roads Lee County maintains. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous.
Thank you.
Decedent Body Transports, Joseph Dean.
Hello. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Joseph Dean. I'm the owner of Frederick Dean Funeral Home in Opelika, Alabama. Obviously, y'all know what we do in my line of work. When people pass away, we're there to help them with a burial or a cremation. Another integral part of death, dying is logistics. It's getting people from the hospital to the funeral home, from the airport to, back to the funeral home, or from point A to point B. One of those is something that y'all, the county, pay for, which is transportation from the place of death to Forensic Sciences in Montgomery. It's about 50 miles, I guess, from Tigertown exit where I am to the forensics lab on Taylor Road. Right now, the county, and I don't know that anyone's ever asked to do it for less, pays $175 each way to Montgomery. So that's $350 just to take a body to forensics and back. There's also a company named H&H that makes the removal from the place of death, and they get paid $125 for that. So when you add all that together, that's $425. I sent over a copy of an email from Coroner Harris. I don't know if you all got it. Anyway, so in there, if not, I have copies.
We got it.
Okay. So in there, it kind of outlines the process for this. So this letter is dated July 19, 2019. Prior to that date, beginning in April of 19, and then again in June, I put in a body cooler, a 10-by-10 cooler to hold decedents until they can be transported to forensics, as well as our own needs for it as a business. So we rotated that with Jeffcoat Trant, the other funeral home in town, and then August would have been our month again, and we got this letter. When we got this letter, you can read it. It goes on to say that H&H is doing the transportation. They bill the county commission, and you all approve it. My issue with that is I don't know the process about bid contracts, things like that at all. I would propose in order to, I'm glad that I went after all these other people because it sounds like saving money is a good thing in the commission. So I would propose, since I'm in a like business to that, body transports, that Frederick Dean Funeral Home would be able to do this for Lee County for a lower price. So instead of $125 and $350, sorry, my math was off earlier, that's $475. We could do it for $100 for the pickup and $150 round trip to Montgomery. So that's $250 total cost to the county, saving you about 45%. And that money can be used to apply to other places in the budget. I don't even know if y'all were aware of how this works, but my proposition is we would like to use our cooler at the funeral home to hold bodies because they're being held now at Jeffcoat by the direction of H&H by way of Bill Harris. I don't necessarily agree with the way that's being done. I think it should be alternated, or the county should build their own cooler, house the bodies themselves, and then you could pay off-duty deputies or Frederick Dean or whoever gives you the best bid to transport them to forensics.
Is this a long-standing agreement with H&H, and are they local?
It is in long-standing since July 19th of 19.
Oh, just since 19, okay.
So 14 months. They are local, I believe, out of Beauregard.
Okay.
They're in Lee County, which so am I. Can I answer any questions about that? Was the commission aware that there's, what is the process of bidding something like this? I mean, I don't know what y'all spent on that last year, but
Mr. Renneman, you want to take that one?
It's under 25,000. How much is the total every year?
it varies. Depends on how many people die and how many people go to forensics.
I'm going to let Mr. Adrenalman address that, and then we'll give Mr. Harris a chance to respond.
While they're talking, what was your proposal again, your dollar amount?
$150 round trip in lieu of $350 you pay now. $100 removal fee in lieu of $125 you pay now. And my company is licensed, insured, reputable. What's the figure?
Yeah, just as, at least that we have not had anybody that goes over 15,000, we're required to bid it once you cross over $15,000, but the way it works is each entity that ends up having to have a body transported pays for we actually turn around and bill them for those amounts, so they get full reimbursement. So the county does not spend more than $15,000, so that's not bidded out. The question would then come in, though, if we did cross over it, how does the decision come about as far as that process? Because by law, the coroner is solely the responsible person for the handling and transporting of bodies, and he does not answer the county commission. So the only thing that we would have to look into, and we've not had to have this discussion yet, is, well, if our reimbursement crosses $15,000, in other words, the money that the county commission is responsible for, does that become bidded out, and does it make it to where we award that, despite what the local law, what the state law says about the coroner being responsible for that?
And this would be the first calendar year you would have this company doing it all 12 months from January 1 until the end of this year, since they began in July of last year. And prior to that, if Frederick Dean transported it, they got paid if it was their person. If Jeffcoat Trant got it, they were paid if it was their person. I don't know if Harris or any of them ever did any transportation. They very well may have, or certainly could have. So that being said, Mr. Runneman, this year may create a surplus of charges in that regard, since this will be the first full year that anybody's had the contract for a year. I'm gonna make sure I understand. You're saying if, by the entities, you're talking about Opelika, Auburn, City of,
That is correct. Because the bid law is based upon each entity and how much that each entity would spend within that one calendar, well, our fiscal year, which is October 1 through September. In total, you said we're up to 29, but once you divide that among all the entities, it's below the 15,000.
so Lee County can separate that out into cities and not absorb it as a whole as the county to
Well,
observe
that's-
the bid?
Yeah, I mean, because it is based on funds that we are responsible for, not necessarily the funds that are responsible for the city of Auburn or Opelika, and it depends, again. But that, again, that has not been an issue up until now. Obviously, we're getting pretty close. So
What
once
is
we
the
get-
bid? Is it
It's
30,000?
15,000 per entity per annual year.
So I'll make sure I understand. Lee County is one entity, Auburn's one entity,
That is-
Opelika is
That
one.
is correct.
Okay.
And each entity that sends a body to forensics for a criminal matter is responsible for the cost for that body, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
All right. All right. I'm going to give Mr. Harris a chance to respond.
Sure.
Bill? Anything you want to say?
Been running pretty good, the state troopers.
How about come up here where we can hear you, please?
The three local entities, and you have the Alabama
Closer to the mic. There you go.
Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, ALEA.
Get a little closer to the mic.
Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, ALEA. You would have the state troopers under that organization, and you would have the SBI under that organization that on occasion will request a post-mortem examination, and therefore they get billed for that. $30 of that total fee is a reimbursement for the cost of a body bag. The state of Alabama will not accept a body in their facility without it being in a body bag. The county does purchase all the body bags, but I would say over half of that money probably comes back. I don't know. It comes back from the cities and the state. I'm sure we absorb it as a county for, I think the sheriff's office, it comes out of their budget. It was set up the way it was set up. They're a sole source provider. Nobody affiliated up as of yesterday. One of my deputy coroners was a part-time employee of the transport service. His job was to, when called, to arrange for the transport to be picked up. He is no longer a paid deputy coroner. So there is no conflict of interest with any funeral home or anything like that with the coroner's office through this transport service.
All right. Now, I'll make sure I understand that. So one of your deputy coroners also works part-time with the transport service?
Yes, he doesn't own it. He owned it when it first opened and then sold out his interest. But he
To-
remained on as sort of a guidance and part-time helper.
Who did he sell it
Jackie
to?
Who?
Who did he sell it to?
Jason Haywood, and I think Jason now has sold it to Jackie's ex-wife.
They're not divorced. They're not divorced.
And Joseph, hold on. I wouldn't let him interrupt you, and he wanted to. All right, what else, Ms. Raymond? Any questions for him?
The law is correct. The coroner's responsibility is to arrange all transports. And we
well,
tried
Bill-
another way to start with. It didn't work out, so we went back with what the law it says, and we followed it to the T.
Well, help me here. If you can do it for $250 instead of $475, why would you not want to?
I mean, you gotta pay to get it, both 90% of the time, the body has to be moved from where it's at to a holding facility. That is determined by the transport company. And he pays to use.
What is determined by the transport company? Where the holding facility is?
Yeah, well, no, Hudson Transport is located in Beauregard. He contracts right now with Jeffcoat for the use of their cooler and pays them for the use of their cooler. So the coroner's office is totally out of it as far as having any connections to a funeral home, as far as using facilities. Part of the contract deal was he provides transport service and provides cold storage when needed.
So the contract goes till the end of the year?
It goes until, There's no set close date on it. Long, I mean, we come up with the prices, I checked around other facilities. The cheapest I could find was $200 one way. I did send out proposals, but nothing was even close because they weren't local. The ambulance service is the backup, but they charge $200 one way, just inside of Lee County. You'd act about $12 a mile if they were to take one to Montgomery.
How much did you say the body bags cost?
Roughly $30.
$30. And then you say they get returned? Or did I hear you?
We get reimbursed for
Get
them.
reimbursed, okay.
Boy, I hope they're not reusing.
That was what I was wondering if they were used.
No, it's a one-time deal. We do use a higher grade bag just because of leakage problems and that than we could get. I mean, I could buy one for $6, but you pick somebody up off the ground with it, they're gonna come out the bottom. So,
So have you had a conversation with Mr. Dean regarding these pricings?
no, first I heard of this was Friday when I got the agenda in the email.
Do you want to talk to them about it? I mean, save the county some money.
I'd be more than happy to, I mean, but,
I think you know
I'd
the
be
price
quite-
saving
I would-
here is
I would
attractive
rather-
to
I would rather
us.
not have another funeral home involved. Jeffcoat doesn't want to do it anymore. They were the first people to do it just because they were the only ones here that had a cooler.
Jeff Coat doesn't want to do what anymore?
They don't want to haul anymore.
Won't haul?
They were the ones that were doing it for us just strictly because they had the cooler at the time and nobody else did.
But they're still doing the holding.
That's up to the contract. Mr. Dean, I understand, has been offered that and he didn't want any part of this, that. He wanted all of it.
For a 45% savings, I would want another funeral home involved. Yeah. But that's me. There's 4 other commissioners here too. I don't know what they think.
Well, I agree with that.
All the law enforcement agencies are happy with the service they're getting.
Yeah, I hear you, but when we're talking that much
I
money,
know.
you know,
It's a matter of,
the budget gets set up here, so.
If you're not happy with this
having to go to
service,
court and everything else, because he doesn't get paid to go to court.
yeah, if you're not happy with this service, you can go back.
You what now?
If you're not happy with the service that you get from somebody else, you've got the option, you're in charge of it.
Right.
You've got the option to go back. Do it with H&H.
Any other questions?
I'm still struggling just a little with, you've got a deputy coroner that's paid by the county,
He was.
who works for the transport service but doesn't own it.
Right.
And that's not a conflict.
He doesn't get to choose on the calls. He don't get to choose where they go, other than he has to take them where his company says that this is where we're gonna go. He doesn't get to come to a call unless they're called. And if the call is to go to DFS, then he doesn't work the call.
Okay, back up now. If the call is the body's gonna go to forensics, then that
And Jackie
deputy
does
won't
not
work
work as a
that
deputy
call.
coroner on
I
the
got
call.
you. All right. Thank you. Mr. Dane, any rebuttal? And Bill, you get to go again too, so.
I guess the only thing I'd say about that is this letter that Bill sent me on July 19, 2019 says effective August 1, 2019, no paid member of the coroner's office. Yesterday was September 28, 2020. That's a year and 2 months after that date. And I will say, Bill, no one's offered me the cooler. Jackie, they didn't ask me that. My only thing about that would be, you as the coroner, I think, has the decision to make where the body goes. I don't think you can defer that to the transport service. I think you need to make that decision as the coroner. You and I talked about this in March, about that particular issue, remember? And I really think, I'm willing to let my cooler be used. We're willing to make the removals. We're willing to take them there. As far as Mr. Hamby also works at Jeffcoat Trant, so he's kind of the trifecta in conflict of interest in this as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I think he does. I know he sells them caskets. I mean, is that subcontractor, employee, 1099, W-2? I mean, and yes, I do not believe I believe he's currently married to the woman that you referred to as his ex-wife. I believe a out of court looking could solve that. So, you know, I think that's a conflict of interest. What I never understood was why two funeral homes who wanted to do it was not a conflict, but just one is a conflict. You know, so I wish we could work this out, because Bill does a good job, and we have our disagreements about this, but I would like to save the county some money. I'd like to do the transporting. I don't know, I guess you brought that up because Jackie was at a house call we went to Thursday as a deputy coroner. I don't know that he's ever been bonded as a deputy coroner. He is? Okay. All right. Well, here, you have anything else? I'll get it typed and email it to you tomorrow.
Bill, if y'all would just find a time where y'all could just sit down and talk. I'll mediate. Either way.
Seems
Thank
like a no-brainer.
It does. Thank both of y'all.
You know, I hear a lot of cases as a judge. I'd be happy to play referee or mediator if that's what it takes. Hopefully y'all can do it without that. All right, any action to be taken by the commission? Next is your organizational meeting in November. Code requires the commission to meet on the Wednesday after the election. And this year, that would fall on November 11th, which is Veterans Day holiday. ACCA has put out a memo stating they think you have to meet on Wednesday, November 11th, even if the courthouse is closed. On the back of the second page, I put the email exchange between Mr. Renderman and I about whether we think we have to or not. Roger raised a real good point. What are they going to do, throw us in our own jail? I mean, I believe the commission has, under authority of 11-3-8, when a regular meeting day falls on a legal public holiday, the county commission may meet on any day of the following week instead of on the holiday. I think you can set your meeting for the Thursday, or we can meet on the Wednesday. And it doesn't really matter to us. It's the pleasure of the commission, but we felt like because there's a potential for difference of opinion here, we would let y'all make that call. So if you would like to meet on the Wednesday, the 11th, Veterans Day, or Thursday, the 12th, I just need a motion to the effect of what your preference is.
Well, I won't be here, so.
Well, I don't do anything wrong, but if,
Pardon?
I said I don't want to do anything wrong, so if we're supposed to meet on Wednesday, I'm fine with that.
Well,
If Thursday,
that's what their memo says.
I saw that. I read it. But I don't want Jay asking me if I look good in handcuffs or not, you know, come up because we didn't meet on the day we were supposed to.
So your motion is?
I'm going to let everybody else comment on it. I'm not making a motion.
I mean, it really does not matter to me if it's a Wednesday or Thursday. For the employees, it may matter.
Mr. Renman, holiday pay is double time, is that right? Yeah.
And pretty much the employees who are here in this room right now would have to be there, is that right?
Yes.
Well, that would kind of make me want to do it on Thursday then.
Which is where I was coming from.
That kind of swayed me in that direction.
Yeah, I'm straying in that direction as well, since that would affect the employees here.
And, you know, it's one of those things. This is one of those things that when they did it, they didn't really ever think that, you know, the 11th would end up on a Wednesday. It's very rare that it would ever happen, and it really has to do with the election as far as when you canvass the votes and the provisionals. And this actually goes back to way back when you used to have some county commissions get defeated, and they would, between the time that the election happened and the time they got sworn in January, would end up raiding the budget, end up going out and getting a bunch of bond issues they couldn't afford to pay back. So in response to that, the County Commission Association back in, I think it was somewhere around must have been around 2000, I think it's the first year this went into effect for election, to where it made it very quickly. As soon as the general election was over, you sat your county commission within as quick as possible after the election. And that's how this all came about. And if you read the code section, there is no penalties. The only thing that could happen is if somebody filed a complaint in court, you get a court order forcing you to meet on that day, and if you don't, you'd get held in contempt of court. So if anybody wants to go file that lawsuit and pay the fees, which we get $50 from, they're more than welcome to, because at least we get $50 out of it. But that's the worst that can actually happen, is you just get ordered by a judge to do it, and then you're held in contempt if you don't.
Can I ask a question? I mean, have we talked to other commissions throughout the state to see what anyone else is doing, or if this could be a statewide decision to meet on that Thursday?
Well, I mean, this is also what ACCA put out from their attorney as their opinion. So, again, the judge did his research, and he now come up with his opinion that you will have the ability to move it under the other code section that basically sets how we set meetings and when we want to set meetings and stuff like that. So I think you're pretty well within your right to move it to Thursday if you want. But that, again, that's also my opinion based on the judge's opinion.
Lots of opinions.
Well, it sounds like the two codes are in conflict, but, with that said, I'll make a motion, we meet on Thursday.
I'd like to discuss it a little bit further.
Sure.
All right, would you second it so we can?
Well, actually, I'm gonna agree with it, but I just wanted to add something to it, that I think the employees here deserve to be off, so I second it big time.
All right, sir. Something changed, we'll get back to you, but I just don't. It'll be a first Thursday meeting in my 20 years, other than a special meeting. We had a special meeting one time. But the organizational meeting is the meeting where we actually will have on the agenda that you set the dates of your meetings. That's where we come in every 2 years and say second and last Monday of each month. And as you know, once we set that, that's what we stick to. However, if it falls on a Monday, we move it to Tuesday, routinely. And we often will dispense with our second meeting in December unless there's a pressing item. So I believe the commission has the authority to do it. I wasn't going to do this on my own without y'all having a chance to weigh in.
Well, I mean, this right here says that the law specifically says there can be no meeting between Election Day and this Wednesday meeting.
Right.
It doesn't say we can't meet after.
No, sir. And I have another one that says you can meet on any day of the following 7 days. So,
No, I'll second it.
Richard did already.
Richard did.
Yeah.
June 30th, 1:30.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Next item is mine. I put a quote in your packets for purchasing poll books, electronic poll books. The quote is $169,000. Thankfully, a commissioner called and said, "Bill, is this budgeted?" And I said, "No, Robert, it's not." But the reason it's not is the state says they will reimburse this 100%. Now, I want to consider purchasing them if that's true. If that's not true, I don't think we should. I want y'all to know I feel like I'm being pressured by the state to do this. November general election for president is the worst election to try to introduce something new. In addition, we're probably going to have more new poll workers this time than we've had in years. Sheriff and the circuit clerk and I met last week about this. Here's the dilemma for me. If we don't buy these now, then the state won't reimburse them later. And I don't feel like we can afford to pass up $169,000 worth of election hardware. I don't like being pushed to do it now, but I don't think my reasons are $169,000 worth.
Well, when they tried to push this on us before,
Yes, sir.
I know I called you about it, see how you wanted to handle it, because you're
Yes.
the one that deals with that.
I think,
And then I talked with John Merrill about it and the cost. And I said, well, if y'all are really pushing this, it's not really fair. You push it off on the state to pay for it. Kind of feels like what happens with
Robert,
Joe's situation with the judges.
at that
He gave me
time,
every reason in the world why there was this, and this we could use that money for. But this,
at that time, though, he was trying to force us to use what we call HAVA funds that Lee County has an allocation of. This
we were going to use it
reimbursement,
for something else.
which we can use for something else,
That's
and
right.
I'll get that to you. This is coming out of the CARES Act money due to the coronavirus. And frankly, the coronavirus is the biggest reason to go ahead and jump to this now.
I agree.
I just don't feel like it's fiscally responsible for me to turn this down, even though I wish November general was not the time to introduce it. We'd like to introduce things like this on a primary or runoff when the turnout's much less. There's more time for poll worker training. They get comfortable with it. By the time we have a big election, they're up to speed.
You got a plan for training everybody?
Oh, yeah, we
Okay,
got,
good.
Does this replace or does this supplement what we have?
this would be something new.
Brand new. We don't have any poll.
Across the board?
We have an iPad now at each precinct where the poll workers can look up a voter and say, where does this person look registered? This would actually be how you would check in. When you go to the front table, you drop your driver's license on the tray, and it brings up your record in the computer. They don't have to find you on the list. One of the big advantages to this is we don't have to break the alphabet down, A through E, F through J. Any table can handle any voter. So when the voters come in, they go to the shortest line. That's good and bad. It's great for the voters, but what that will do is shift the crowd from out front of the table to between the table and the voting machine, because we're going to be able to process them in so quickly. This is a lengthy ballot because it's a general election. I believe there are 5 amendments. There are 7 statewide, 3 federal races, 7 statewide races, 5 local races. I'm close. I might not be exactly right. But they're going to take some time to mark their ballot. The crowd now will be behind the front table or in line waiting to get to the voting machine. We're increasing the number of voting machines as a consequence. We will have more machines out. And the sheriff and the clerk and I talked Friday, we're probably going to put as many as 400 poll workers out this time. That'll be the most we've ever used, but I think it's going to be critical that we have plenty because of all the new stuff. So I'm game, let's try it. And if the state's not going to reimburse it out of CARES Act money, then I think the answer is no. But if they'll do that, I think we have to try.
Are you having trouble getting poll workers because of the COVID?
We're going to actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 3 poll worker trainings. I mentioned online to you after the meeting, if you don't mind. Bunch of workers, bunch of training. We're probably, in addition, going to bring the chief inspectors in way early and go over some of this with them so that they're up to speed before the rest of the workers get exposed to it.
Do you need any action on this, Judge?
Yes, sir. I'd need the commission to approve us entering into this purchase with the understanding that it is reimbursed from CARES Act funds.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Sheriff, anything else from our meeting that I didn't mention? That it? All right. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Mr. Hardy, you got the next 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Thank y'all, by the way, for that.
You're welcome.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. The Highway Department has been approached from citizens about reducing speed limits on Lee Roads 326, which is off of Lee Road 379, 711, and 712, which are off of Lee Road 118. All of these roads, the 3 of them, are in District 4 in Commissioner Ham's district. Highway Department has conducted traffic studies. We recommend the following reductions to be made along Lee Road 326, taking the speed limit from 35 miles an hour currently to 25 miles an hour. And then for Lee Roads 711 and 712, taking it from 35 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour. Ask the commission formally adopt this. If you do, we will have our sign technician erect these signs tomorrow to reflect y'all's action.
I'd like to move for approval.
A second. Got a motion and a second. Further discussion. Would y'all put that previous map back up there? The one that had 7, 11, and 12. Got it. Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Avalon Acres, Mr. Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is a property division of lots 4 and 5 in Avalon Acres. This is off of Lee Road 282, again in Commissioner Ham's district. They're taking 2 lots and further subdividing them to create 4 lots. This meets the Lee County subdivision regulations and therefore comes before the commission for approval. There's no new infrastructure. This is just 4 existing lots with enough frontage on the roadway to create 2 existing lots with enough frontage on the existing roadway of 282 to turn it into 4 lots in this subdivision.
Move for approval.
A second.
Motion and second. Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Lee Road 2163. What's our highest road number, Mr. Hardy? Did I throw you under the bus there?
A little bit.
No, I'm sorry. Withdraw the question.
It's going to be at least 2163, Mr. Chairman, and probably a few above that with it.
Quick
But
on his feet.
this subdivision is in Commission District 5 off of Alabama Highway 169. What they're doing here is they're taking a single lot and subdividing it into 4 parcels as well. Again, this meets the Lee County subdivision and land development regulations, and this is for a final plat approval to break up this. Also, again, this has no new infrastructure, no roadways or proposed streets. This is just utilizing existing frontage along Lee Road 2163.
Any action to be taken by the commission?
I'll take a motion to approve.
Second. All right, Mr. Hardy, according to this handy dandy new highway reference guide I just got, our highest number is 2211.
I believe it.
I trust it.
Thank y'all.
I'm sorry, Justin. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Ms. Norris, very shortly, you're going to have to remind me when we introduce elected officials, I need to say Opelika City Councilwoman Erica Norris.
I'll wave to you.
When is your swearing in over there?
November 2nd.
November 2nd. Okay.
Well, please remind us when it is, because I think we want to be there.
I certainly will. Thank you very much. I stand before you today to present to you and ask for your approval for a pay change for the Chief Animal Control Officer. If I can give you just a brief history about it, this is a position that's already been budgeted into our budget. It's already been approved with our pay classification study back in February. And there's currently not a person in the position. It is a new position. The department is just looking to recruit and hire in the job. Currently, it's a 112. We have reevaluated the position, the county administrator and myself, and we both came up with the same amount. It's a grade 114. That starts off at $42,530. So we stand before you to ask for approval to increase the pay grade from a 112 to a 114.
It's currently 112.
Yes.
Move for approval.
Thank you, ma'am.
I second it.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Mr. Hardy, this is already budgeted and approved in your department?
If the commission approves it, it will be approved. It was budgeted. Mr. McDonald had talked with me about the need for this position. He went through the process, as Ms. Norris explained, went through the process with Evergreen through our pay classification plan to establish the job duties, the job description, the recommended classification grade from what they had done. It just did not get created at that time as we've continued to implement changes to our pay scale and what got approved by that. And so Mr. McDonald had approached me about the need to fill this position. And so we got with Mr. Rendleman and Ms. Norris to go through the process they have done now that brings the recommendation. But yes, sir, it was budgeted.
And this is adding an additional animal control officer?
This will add a position. We are looking at the possibility of promoting from within with a
Right, I
qualified
understand, but
applicant.
will there be one more than there were?
No.
No.
This is just, if there was enough funds, and if you look back at the budget we passed last commission meeting, there was additional funds to add to an existing position to upgrade a
Got it.
position.
So we're not adding another officer, we're upgrading a position. Great.
Upgrading a position.
So is the total number of people 3?
Still 3.
3, okay.
Has it been opened up yet for people to apply?
Not yet. We have to go through the approval process first, and then I'm sure tomorrow morning it'll be worked on to present for opening to the public to apply for.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
you
Motion's
so
unanimous. Ms. Swan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you, we have a request. Our annual benefits fair is starting, will be held October 21st. It's going to look very different this year than it has in the past.
We're going to do this by Zoom?
That would be interesting, trying to figure out how to do wellness screens and flu shots by Zoom. That would be fun. But what we're doing is we're not having any vendors. Except for 3, we're having our big 3, our Alliance Insurance is going to be here, Prepaid Legal will be here, and Nationwide will be here. So those are the only 3 vendors that are going to be allowed into the benefits fair. They will be in the lobby. Everyone else is going to be inside the large meeting room. It's going to be interesting. So we're gonna play this one by ear this year.
Are we going to have to expand the hours so we don't get too many people in there at one time?
No, everybody is socially distanced and will be socially distanced. That's one reason why we're not having any vendors, so we have the room in the middle to put everybody. We are, like we normally do, we send out requests for them we send out sign-in sheets for them to actually make appointments. We like them to abide by those appointments this year, unlike what they have done in the past. But we're going to do our best to make sure that everybody is seen. We've talked to Debbie, we talked to Robin, and they've taken care of all of that. They're used to they've pushed through, in the summer, they pushed through 270 at another location, and that's usually how many we have. So we'll see. We're gonna, like I said, it's gonna be interesting. But before you, we do have a request. Usually we do request around $1,200 for incidentals, food, what have you, decorations. We're still requesting a little bit because what we're gonna do this year, instead of doing donated food items, because everybody's hurting, and I'm pretty sure restaurants aren't really going to want to donate a lot of items to us. We're going to do some prepackaged items for our nurses and still for our staff and the employees who do come. So we're requesting just up to $500. I do not anticipate us spending even close to that amount, but just in case, we wanted to make sure we covered the bases.
Well, I hope in the future we can get back to doing it like we did. It was very well done with all the vendors. Everybody liked that, and the way it was done before. So, we all have to make those changes, so. That's what we got to do right now. That's what we got to do. But we sure need that health fair, because I think there's been some things have turned up in the past that some people had some medical problems they didn't know about until they got there.
Yes, there definitely has. We reached out to all the vendors, and we do have several of our usual vendors. They're donating door prizes. Since they can't come instead, they're going to go ahead and donate some door prizes to us. So, and they're all looking forward to hopefully back to normal in 2021. So,
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. I will remind you that your next meeting will be a Tuesday meeting due to a holiday on the Monday, Tuesday, October 13th. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
And a second. All in favor signify by saying bye.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank y'all. Roger?
Easy peasy.
This one was a little easier last time.